What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Game On Improve Your Health podcast. My name is Austin J, or hallucinodream if you know me from the gaming community, and today I am solo queuing this episode. This episode, I want to talk about why health, wellness, routines, paying attention to your health, your physical, your mental health, why it's important for gaming, right? For people who want to play video games, for people who want to play competitive video games, you got to treat yourself like an athlete, right? Because that's, what you are, basically. Now, disclaimer, again, I am a certified personal trainer and nutrition specialist, and I am going for my master's in exercise science, but I am not a health physician or any actual health medical professional. So take what I say with a grain of salt, of course, but what I say is backed by the research that I've done, or else I wouldn't be telling you, and what I've learned from schooling, okay? So, and then anecdotal, right? So I'm going to tell you guys some stories as well. Also, that being said, this is not specific to gamers, okay? If you are listening and you don't play video games, that's okay, because this applies to you. This can apply to your life as well. This applies to anybody in regards to, just regular everyday life, everyday activities, like everyday activities like doing the laundry, mowing the lawn, working on your car if that's what you need to do, like an oil change, right? Going to work. It applies to everything, okay? Or even schooling, right? Somebody who might be even kids in high school, right? Or kids going to college, or adults going to college, right? So this applies to every aspect of life, but I have the focus on gamers. That is what my specialty in the health and wellness world is going to be. So if you have any questions after listening to this episode, by all means, let me know. Again, you don't have to be a gamer, so let's get into why it's important. Now, the first thing I would say is the most important part to me, right? And I think I've seen a lot of stuff on social media about this subject as well, is mental health. Okay, if you follow a health and wellness routine, this is anecdotal. It's different for everybody. There are individual variances. I reference this a lot, and I know I've talked about some of this stuff on other podcasts, but this is going to be the heavy podcast, right? The one I talk about it most is mental health and the issues that surround mental health, especially with people in the gaming community. There are a lot of gamers, a lot of big streamers, right, that play video games for a living, even pro gamers, that you might think there's no way these people aren't happy and they're doing what they love to do, which sometimes isn't the case, okay? These it's just like any other job, right? So now they're playing what they love, then they become a professional, now it's a job, right? So there are added stressors to that. If you're not paying attention to your health, if you're not paying attention to your mental health, it's going to start a cascade effect where your mental health starts to suffer, which means your physical health is going to start suffering, which means your performance at work or the video game is going to start suffering. It's a cascade effect. It's bad. Snowball effect, whatever you want to call it, and it's not necessarily something you really want for yourself, right? And I have seen it on social media. This actually happened to quite a few people in the past, and the pandemic definitely doesn't help. I will say that first thing, a lot of people know that the pandemic hasn't helped anybody, really, and it's made it a lot tougher on a lot of people. But mental health needs to be focused on. If you are feeling there's a stigma around people asking for help in regards to mental health, and I think that should be nipped in the bud. If you need help, I will say that's one thing I didn't do. I started this company because I was able to pull myself out of the darkness, right? I know that sounds cliche and kind of weird that I just said pull myself out of the darkness, but that's literally what it is. I hit rock bottom and I pulled myself out. But I was one of those few people that was able to do that without almost any help. I refused to ask people for help. Would it have been a lot easier had I done so? Absolutely. But I didn't. And I will say I am lucky that I was able to do that without help. You should never feel ashamed to ask to better yourself. That is if somebody came up and asked me for help because they want to better themselves, they're stuck in rock bottom, they're abusing substances or alcohol or something else. Not that I am a professional, I've just been through it, right? And I don't talk about my past very often, so we're not going to get into the nitty-gritties of it. I think I told you guys I will tell you one day, but this is not the day. I wouldn't hesitate. I would never look down on that person for asking for help. I'd never say anything about them asking for help. I would absolutely help them the best that I could, because that person needs to be, pulled out of whatever slump they're in, whether that slump has been for just a couple days or has been for years in their life, right? And to help better themselves, right? Which is what I needed to do, and I did it myself without asking for help. I was incredibly stubborn. Mental health is incredibly important. Mental health is, let's reference the social media that I looked at. Mental health has gotten so bad in some of the gamers that they have taken their own lives. Right? This is something I have built One Punch to try to help avoid. We want to try to help the physical aspect and the mental aspect, because without the mental aspect, the physical aspect really can't be there, right? Because if your mood is bad all the time, your drive to do things are going to plummet, right? So I know I am already jumping around a significant amount in this episode. If you've listened to me already and you've listened to my podcast, I jump around a lot, right? My mind goes in 100 different miles, 100 different directions at once, and I jump around a lot. And I ramble a lot. So sorry, but so mental health is incredibly important, not only for life but for your gaming performance. So an example would be, let's say you're a young kid, right? And this is where I was. Okay, I was a young kid, and I saw my first professional Counter-Strike match on TV. Actually, it was for the CPL. I want to say the CPL, or there was another company that was running it at the time. I forget, but it was run by Fatality, I believe. So for those old school players who know who I'm talking about, yeah, right. That's how long ago it was. But I wanted to play professional. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't want to go to school. I didn't want to go to college. All I wanted to do was play that game professionally. But I had a bad attitude. My mindset was bad. And that I would say that 100% affected my performance. I know it affected my performance because I realized it was hindering my performance in the later years, right? So when I started, this was early high school. When I started getting out of high school, I realized that it was really affecting my performance. My performance was starting to I had plateaued. Right, and I couldn't make it any further, and it was because I was preventing myself from playing the game how I wanted to, at a higher capacity level, because my mindset was so bad. Everything that I was doing wasn't going to work out. The world was against me. My mindset about who I was bad, right? So, and all of that had affected my gaming performance. Now, this is anecdotal, right? So mindset sometimes doesn't affect some people the way it affected me when I was playing video games. But generally, that's how the mind will work, right? It'll start hindering performance. And it's not just in gaming, like I said. It could be in work, right? I'm sure if you think back on it, there's been a time, normal human behavior, everybody gets upset at times. When you get upset, when you get frustrated, when you get depressed, depression's a big one. You were at work, you can probably think back on, I really didn't do as much work that day as I really should have because of the slump that I was in, right? Happens to everybody. And if you're stuck in one of those slumps, your performance is really going to get hindered. So mental health is incredibly important. I'm going to switch over for why, or what you can do to help your mental health, and go back a little bit on what I did, which was, and I've said this in several episodes, I think, which was started a fitness routine, a health and wellness routine. When I started, I didn't know anything going into it. I only knew that some of my friends and my family members said, I really need to start working out, right? So I did that, and I didn't really know what to expect besides I wanted to gain some muscle, right? I was a very scrawny kid. So I started going to the gym, and people tell you that you go to the gym and it's going to change your life. You're going to start feeling better, right? Your mood's going to be better and all this and that. And when you first go there and you're in a bad mood, that doesn't exist. That's not going to happen. You just go, at this point, you're just going to the gym and you're still in a slump that you're in, because you walk out of the gym and you're still in that slump. I also stopped, I was told that nutrition had a big part of why my mood was the way it was. That was all I was told. I didn't do research into it. So I cut out the soda and I cut out the fast food. That was the only thing I cut out at the time when I first started. I've said this in other episodes, but I did this, and I'm not even exaggerating about it. It took a little bit, and I had to push through it. But after the first maybe month and a half, I did start to feel like the cloudiness in my mind and in my brain, right, was starting to fade away, and I started to think about things a little different than I usually have, and it seemed to make more sense in a very positive manner. Now that, again, is anecdotal. It could take more time for people, and it's going to be a lot harder for some people, but physical activity really does help with mental activity, and the two go hand in hand. Mental health, not mental activity. Well, really both. And the two really go hand in hand. So if you are working on one, you're working on the other, which is, really in the physical aspects. If you're working on your physical aspect, you are working on your mental. If you're working on your mental, you really should be working on your physical too, because there is a lot of science backing up that physical activity does help clear the cloudiness, right? It does help with cognitive performance, which is a very big benefit for games, and it does help with your health in general, right? So decreasing the chance or the risk of disease and everything of the sort. You don't want to finally get into your dream job, maybe it is playing video games, and find out you've gotten some kind of disease from lack of physical activity, right? Or just lack of activity in general, which would not be good, especially if it started hindering performance. Once again, your career wouldn't be very long, right? And that happens. It happens to athletes. I know athletes they become professional athletes because they're doing all this moving and all that stuff, but there are some underlying issues. They might go too hard. That can, again, be a snowball effect. So you got to have a happy medium as well, right? And sometimes people just get unlucky. But that's what making sure that you're on top of your mental health and your physical health is for, right? So that if you have setbacks, you're able to mentally get through it, to push forward, to continue your journey. Now, the mental health, physical health, that will help increase your cognitive performance, like I just said. In gaming, that's incredibly important. For most games, you need to be able to think on the fly. You need to be able to think incredibly fast. Now, if you're in a slump, and you've been in a slump for a couple months now, and you're playing games, you're really not going to think as quickly as you normally would, right? If you weren't in that, or if you were in a more positive mindset, you just wouldn't be able to, unfortunately, you just wouldn't be able to think that fast. If you look at a lot of the professional teams, the professional players, they have all these people to help them. They have nutritionists, they have personal trainers, they have, you name it, it's on their professional team. They help them on a daily basis, because these pro organizations know that the health of their players is incredibly important to the success of the team. And that's one of the other reasons why I have, besides for just health, wellness in general, but I started this company to target and to help gamers in general, not pros or not, right? Really the average gamer who might not know all this information, that wants to play games, even the casual gamer who just wants to play games, but at the same time also wants to feel good, right? You want to be able to feel good. You don't want to be in a slump all the time. And maybe you do. Maybe you are playing just Mario. What's it? Super Mario? Maybe you're just playing Super Mario casually, but you're just like, you know what? I want to see how fast I can beat it. And you keep getting stuck on a couple different parts, but you normally wouldn't if you weren't in a slump, right? That's a possibility, anecdotal again, but it actually has been proven that is what works. Or else, again, pro organizations wouldn't be spending so much money on the health and wellness side. Physical activity also helps with muscle memory, reaction time. I don't know, I just said it like that. Reaction time, as well as, a lot of other bodily functions internally that go on that help regulate your hormones and everything to make sure your body is working and functioning properly. The inner workings, it's kind of like, your body's kind of like a computer, right? You need your computer or console if you're a console gamer. You need all of the internal parts of the computer or the console working properly, or else it's going to start slowing down, right? You get a problem with your hard drive and it starts running at, too hot, right? It's going to start slowing down its read-write speeds, right? For those who don't, this is just very simple terms, which means that when you're playing a game, it's going to start lagging, right? So if you're not paying attention to what's going on in your body, or you're just basically putting fast food into your gut at all times, it's really going to start slowing down different other parts of your body, right? Gut health is incredibly important. Going to get into that actually very soon on the podcast, but you want to pay attention because it's virtually the same thing, the body and the in a lot of different ways, but it is kind of the same thing. Your body and a computer, right? So you don't want that stuff slowing down. You don't want it slowing down to the point where so another example would be dust in your computer, right? Clogs up the fans, stops the fans. Now the body's the computer is overheating. Same could apply for the body, right? You could be eating this food again, and instead of dust, it'll be plaque, right? From the food, plaque from different foods and oils will start to gather up in your veins, your arteries, right? And it will start compacting and narrowing those arteries, which is what happens when you go into cardiac arrest, right? When you have a heart attack or when you have a stroke. It's because the arteries, the veins, it's really the arteries are clogged up, so the blood flow just isn't there. Kind of the same aspect as the fans with the dust. You want to take care of your computer, you want to take care of your body, right? Taking care of your body is a little easier than taking care of a computer, I think, because you are with your body at all times, right? You're paying attention, you know how it feels. Unfortunately, you can't know how the computer feels at all the time. You could monitor it, but it's not going to fully tell you, which is that, you don't necessarily want. I totally just lost my train of thought. I have no idea where I was going with that, but it's basically the same thing. Okay, so again, I apologize for jumping around. I jumped around quite a bit in this episode. I know that, but so the physical activity and the mental health. I mean, those two are incredibly important for game performance and for life in general. And I know I've talked about this a lot, but this is exactly why I started One Punch was to help the average person, right? And the average gamer. Help them to start a routine. Help them to get educated about why routines are important, especially for those gamers that are, I mean, it's especially important for everybody, but it's really important for those people who want to become those e-athletes, right? And I know you probably haven't heard e-athlete in a long time, or if you've ever heard it, you're probably on the younger side, or esports athlete, I guess is what it's called now. I'm not that old, okay? So, but it's especially important for those players because you need to keep that. You need to have an edge on the competition, and health will give you that. Your health will give you that. I always say if you don't have your health, you really don't have very much, right? If you don't have your health, let's think about it. If you are, I'm trying to find an example it's not like offensive or real or that is realistic. If you have, some kind of disease that prevents you from working, right? And let's say you have a family, now you can't provide for your family, right? If you have, or if you are fatigued all the time and you're playing video games, trying to play at a very competitive level. If you are fatigued all the time because of the stuff you're putting in your body and you have lack of physical activity, you're not going to make it too far. This is what happened to me. You're not going to make it too far because you're fatigued all the time and you're just not, your body just isn't up to par with where everybody else's is, which means your reaction time is going to get delayed. Your cognitive function, your decisions are going to be poor, not as good. They might not be bad, but they're going to be more poor than, the other players that you might be playing with that you want to compete with. And a whole slew of other things, right? So you just have to, the importance of health and wellness and being educated about it and helping, and getting into a routine, which is why I'm here and why I started One Punch as a whole. I want to help everybody get into a health and wellness routine, help everybody, answer questions that they might have, especially in regards to getting started, right? Mental health as well. I'm not a mental health professional or a professional in general, but, a medical professional. But I am here to help. I can answer questions. I've been through quite a bit. And and I want to try to, get that mental health pandemic that we have going on here. Epidemic, sorry. We want to try to reverse that, right? Because everybody's getting more and more depressed at younger and younger ages, and that just shouldn't happen, I don't think. So that's this episode. I'm not going to go too much more detail because I basically just rambled the whole time. For those who actually stuck through the episode, I do greatly appreciate it. And it's going to be more fun and energetic when the wife is back on here. So if you have any questions about anything you heard here today, by all means, hit us up on our social media, on our website. You can see all the links here over on your left if you're watching live. If you are listening on the podcast platform, you could, and it'll be in the description. Sorry. I'm doing this is actually really early in the morning, so sorry. I know, quite the opposite of what I usually do, and it's still the same. And then, if you have any questions for me personally, you can, all of my links will be inside of the descriptions on the YouTube video or the podcast platform. Again, I have a 90-day program running right now for beginners. You don't have to be a gamer, so it's for everybody and gamers. It's $100 for the program for the 90 days. I have two programs, actually. One is a resistance band at home program, and the other one is one that requires you to go to the gym. I'm going to the gym now, and I feel comfortable doing so I'm doing it. I take precautions. I wash my hands. I use sanitizer and all that. I wipe the stuff down. But I do have both of those are $100 for 90 days. If you're interested, let me know on any of the One Punch social media. Just let me know. And for a bigger discount, use the code word GREEN, and I will give you a bigger discount when you message me on social media. And I'll give you all the information you need to get started. This is good for beginners. It's good to get you in a health and wellness routine, a fitness routine, and then that could really kickstart your journey. So if you have any questions, let me know. If not, I will see everybody by myself because the wife is going to be away. Let's see what the date is. May 12th at 9 p.m. Eastern. So May 12th here on YouTube and Twitch, live at 9 p.m. Eastern. I'll be here with another podcast episode, follow-up and question and answer to this episode. And sorry for rambling. Thank you for listening to the episode, and hope to see you guys next week.